Good evening from Washington. I'm Larry O'Connor, and of course, this is the place to be for all the discussions related to the GOP nomination process. The debate, the first debate, is next Wednesday, and things are going to heat up quite a bit. Let's bring in someone who's been there 8 years ago, Dr. Ben Carson, who was a front runner for a while in the race until, well, like all the other candidates, you got trumped. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Carson.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
As you watch this process unfold and the drama over the debate and loyalty pledges and whether Trump will show up and all of that, does it sort of give you some PTSD from 8 years ago?
Well, it seemed like it was more peaceful 8 years ago. It seems to be getting more and more chaotic as time goes on, and people are much more combative and hateful. The two sides seem to have less things that they can agree on, and they seem to have different goals.
Yeah.
Years ago, Republicans and Democrats argued a lot, but they wanted the same things. Now they don't want the same things. It makes it very difficult to compromise.
Yeah, I want to explore that a little bit further, but first I would love for you to comment on another development that is new, and that is the weaponization of the law of the federal Justice Department, but also in New York and Georgia this week with these indictments against President Trump. When you look at what President Trump is indicted for, it's for having a different opinion about the outcome of the election, and his lawyers are even indicted for giving him legal advice in that vein. Do you find this to be a dangerous development?
Incredibly dangerous. Benjamin Franklin said in 1787, after the last Constitutional Convention, he was asked, "What do we have here, sir? A monarchy or a republic?" And he said, "A republic if you can keep it." We're as close to losing it right now as we have ever been. The rule of law has been thrown out of the window from the upper echelons of government to the streets, and people are afraid. And, this election is really not so much about Donald Trump as it is what he represents. He represents the people and freedom. And he's being persecuted, prosecuted, unfairly treated by a justice system that will be coming after us, the people, if this is allowed to succeed. And I think a lot of Americans realize that. The American people are not as stupid as the left thinks they are. And they recognize the implications of what's going on. And that's why you see more and more people moving toward Trump. Not because they like him, but because of what he represents to them.
Well, and Dr. Carson, I think that's part of why after your time serving as Secretary of Housing and Urban Development in the Trump administration, you founded American Cornerstone Institute. You want us to come back to those cornerstone values and principles that, as you just mentioned, Republicans and Democrats used to agree on. There used to be some givens in this country. I mean, I like to say it was only about a minute and a half ago where Democrats would agree that biological men shouldn't be naked in a locker room in front of a 14-year-old girl without her consent. How did we get here so quickly?
Well, it really isn't all that quickly. If you go back and you look at the congressional record, January the 10th, 1963, 60 years ago.
Wow.
Read into the congressional record were the 45 goals of communism in America. They included such things as gaining control of the school system so you could indoctrinate the kids, driving a wedge between parents and students, gaining control of the media so you could spoon feed the people, getting rid of God and faith. The list goes on and on. Deteriorating the morality of people, this whole transgenderism stuff. All of this is part of the plan to fundamentally change us. And that was the reason that Khrushchev told Eisenhower, your grandchildren's children will live under communism. They had a plan, and we think we won the Cold War.
Well, and I've heard you point out the fact that the ideas that are now mainstream in our government-run schools and our public school curriculums as young as kindergarten, that's also contributing to this. There's a reason why children are graduating now thinking that global warming is the greatest threat, and they're willing to give up their liberties to the state. These are all socialist ideas that they've been indoctrinated with. At American Cornerstone Institute, you're actually combating that with your own curriculums, aren't you?
Yes, we have the Little Patriots Learning program, littlepatriotslearning.com. We teach all of American history, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But of course, there's a lot more good than there is bad and ugly. And you have so many organizations, trying to capitalize upon slavery and other things and saying that this is the core of who we are as a people. What a bunch of garbage. America is an amazing place with an amazing history, and when it's taught the right way, the kids love it. And we have the Star Spangled Adventures, which are a cartoon animated series about American history that is so good. The kids, as soon as they see an episode, they want to see the next episode. And it does cost money to produce all these things, there's no question. But it's free of charge because we've gotten patriotic Americans to underwrite the program.
That is fantastic.
And continue to add content.
Well, and I know someone who is personally using this to supplement her homeschool curriculum for her children, and she swears by it. She loves it. And the kids are actually engaged in it. It doesn't even feel like they're learning, which is kind of the secret.
Fun.
Yeah. So
it's good for adults too, by the way.
Yeah, I'll learn something. God knows we can all. I went to public school. God knows there's things I need to learn. Dr. Carson, as we get toward the debate next week, I wonder if you could give some unsolicited advice to these candidates. Is that they got to break through somehow. You were able to do it. You broke through from the first debate to the couple of debates in. You spiked and started to make some noise in Iowa and everything. What lane should these candidates try to fill to appeal to those voters, and how do they break through all the noise?
Well, my philosophy was simple. Just tell the truth. Always tell the truth. And then you don't have to try to remember what you said 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago. And you can concentrate on getting your message across. And that's what they need to do. And Republicans and conservatives need to understand that whoever wins the primary process, that's the person you have to get behind. None of this never this person and never this person garbage, because that's the same as voting for the progressives. That's the same as voting to fundamentally change our nation. We don't have much more time. We're at the precipice right now. Yeah. And if we allow the progressives to gain more power, forget about it. And I talk to people in other countries all the time, and they all ask me the same question. What happened to you guys? They can't believe it.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I hear that too when I travel abroad as well. This is not the America they remember. Dr. Carson, just in our last minute, is there any of the candidates, setting aside President Trump, because he's his own man and you worked for him in his administration, of the other candidates, is there anyone that you're sort of looking at and say, sort of identifying with and saying, yeah, you know what, this person's kind of going about it the right way. I find a lot of value there.
Well, as you know, Trump has proven that he's a good leader. If he can control his mouth, I think we got a really good leader there. But in terms of the other people, this is the time for them to display who they are, and what their policies are, how they react to different situations, particularly some unpredictable things that are going to be coming up in the future. Well, and we ought to be watching carefully who they are, what they have to say.
Let the Republican field be on notice. Dr. Ben Carson is ready to be impressed. Dr. Carson, thanks for joining us, sir. American Cornerstone Institute. There's more to come on O'Connor Tonight.